Wichita, Kansas, a city of church steeples, quiet streets, and neighbors who waved good morning. For 31 years, it was also home to one of America's most methodical killers. He installed the alarm systems that families trusted to keep them safe. He read scripture at church. He led a Cub Scout den. He wore a city badge and knocked on doors. To everyone who knew him, he was ordinary, polite, forgettable. And in his own words, he was something else entirely. He gave himself a name and mailed it to the newspapers. 3 letters. Bind, torture, kill. He did not just want to kill, he wanted an audience. He wanted Wichita to know his name. And for 31 years, no one knew it was the man next door. This is the story of the 10 people he took, and the ordinary life he hid behind. Hidden in plain sight, the BTK murders. This is the story of the BTK killer. The man you're looking at. A churchgoer. A father. A city official. And the 10 people he murdered, while no one suspected a thing. Stories like these happen all over the world, and most are never told right. If you want the ones the world overlooks, subscribe. In January 1974, the Otero family were still unpacking their new life in Wichita. They had moved from out of state only months before. Joseph Otero was 38, a retired Air Force serviceman, a mechanic, a boxer. His son called him outgoing and full of life. Julie Otero was 33, a mother of 5 who had trained in judo and taught it to her children. On the morning of January the 15th, their 3 older children left for school. The 2 youngest stayed home. Josephine was 11. Joey was 9. A stranger entered the house. He had studied them for weeks. When 15-year-old Charlie Otero came home that afternoon, 4 members of his family were gone. In a single morning, a father, a mother, and 2 children were murdered in their own home. Charlie later said it in 4 words. My life changed instantly. Wichita had never seen anything like it. There was no motive anyone could find. No robbery, no connection. Nothing taken but a watch and a radio. The killer had brought his own rope, his own tape, his own plan. And then for months, nothing. That April, a young woman named Catherine Bright was attacked in her home. 21 years old, she worked at the same plant as Julie Otero. Her brother Kevin was shot twice, and against all odds, survived. The only person ever to live through one of these attacks. For the first time, the police had a description, but they had no name. That October, an anonymous letter surfaced, guiding a reporter to a hidden note. It described the Otero murders in details only the killer could know. And it gave him the name he wanted the world to use. BTK. Over the next years, the killings continued, never often, never predictable. In March 1977, Shirley Vian, a young mother, was killed after the man followed her son home. Before he killed her, he locked her 3 children in a bathroom. They survived. That December, Nancy Fox, 25, single, working 2 jobs, was murdered in her home. Her sister remembered her as outgoing and someone who always spoke her mind. The morning after Nancy Fox died, the killer did something almost no murderer does. He walked to a payphone and called the police himself to make sure her body was found. He was not hiding from the attention, he was demanding it. He wrote to the newspapers and the television stations, poems, puzzles, boasts. In one message, he asked a question that revealed everything about him. "How many people do I have to kill," he wrote, "before I get a name in the paper?" He was not killing for money or revenge or love. He was killing to be known. He called his crimes projects and gave each one a code name. He stalked ordinary people in ordinary homes, choosing them, he said, almost at random. The initials he had chosen described exactly what he did, and he wanted credit for all of it. In 1985, he killed Maureen Hedge, a woman who lived just a few doors down his own street. In 1986, Vicky Vegerla, a piano teacher and mother of two, opened her door to a man posing as a repairman. For nearly 20 years afterward, her own husband would be wrongly suspected of her murder. And in 1991, Dolores Davis, a grandmother of 62, became his final victim. 10 people, and then nothing. The letters stopped. The killings stopped. Wichita began to believe its nightmare was finally over. But a man who kills to be remembered does not stay silent forever. The man who wrote those letters was not a drifter or a stranger passing through. He was Dennis Rader, and a husband, a father of two, a homeowner in the suburb of Park City. He had served in the Air Force, he had a college degree, he mowed his lawn on Saturdays. For the years of the killings, he installed home security systems for a living. Families invited him inside to make their houses safer. He studied their locks and their doors. Later, he became a city compliance officer, a man with a badge who walked the neighborhood, measuring lawns and noting violations. He was a Cub Scout leader, trusted with other people's children. He attended the same church for decades. And just 1 month before his arrest, his congregation elected him president of the church council. At home, he was a father who took the family photographs and enforced the household rules. His wife did not know. His son did not know. His daughter did not know. The people who loved him and lived beside him had no idea what he did in the hours he was away. This was the disguise, not a mask, not a shadow in an alley. The disguise was ordinariness itself. The churchgoer, the neighbor, the man who came to fix your alarm. For 31 years, the most feared name in Wichita belonged to the most forgettable man on the block. He believed he had gotten away with it. The case was cold. The letters were a memory. But in 2004, something reawakened the need that had driven him all along. He wanted one more time to be seen. In March 2004, a Wichita newspaper published a story marking 30 years since the Otero murders. Within weeks, a letter arrived. Inside were photographs of a crime scene and the driver's license of Vicky Vegerl. BTK was announcing that he had never left. It also cleared an innocent man. Vicky's husband, suspected for 18 years, was finally free of it. Over the next year, the letters and packages came again. Puzzles, trophies, even chapter titles for a book he wanted written about himself. Detectives led by Lieutenant Ken Landwehr understood something crucial about him. His need to be noticed was not his strength. It was his weakness. In one message, the killer asked the police a question. Could writing saved on a floppy disk be traced back to him? The police answered the only way they could reach him, with a short notice in the newspaper. Rex, it will be okay. It was not okay. It was a lie he wanted to believe. In February 2005, he mailed a purple floppy disk to a local television station. On it was a deleted document, agenda for a church council meeting. Hidden inside the file was information the sender never saw. The name of a church, Christ Lutheran, and a first name, Dennis. Single internet search did the rest. The president of that church council was a compliance officer named Dennis Rader. To be certain, investigators tested DNA from a sample belonging to his own daughter. It was a family match to evidence left at a crime scene nearly 20 years before. After 31 years, the man had been undone by a hidden line of text and his daughter's DNA. On February the 25th, 2005, they arrested him near his home. He pleaded guilty to all 10 murders and was sentenced to 10 consecutive life terms, one for each life he took. The most wanted man in Wichita's history had been sitting in a church pew the whole time. Dennis Rader wanted to be remembered. He wanted his initials on the front page and his story in a book. This is the part of the story he does not get to control. Because the measure of this case was never his cleverness. He was caught by a hidden computer file and his own need to brag. The real question the case leaves behind is quieter and harder. How well do we ever really know the people we trust? The neighbor, the volunteer, the man who comes to fix the alarm? There is no comfortable answer. There is only care and the choice of who to honor. So we end not with him, but with them. 10 people from Wichita, Kansas, remembered not for how they died, but for the fact that they lived and were loved. Joseph, Julie, Josephine, and Joseph Otero, Catherine Bright, Shirley Vian, Nancy Fox. Maureen Hedge, Vicky Vegerla, Dolores Davis,